Hey guys, and welcome back to Castle Crush, and today we are going to be playing with a vampire deck here. Now this is not going to be the largest vampire ever, but it is going to be a vampire with giant growth in a rushing deck, because giant growth is a fun card to play with, and especially in a rushing deck, it could be very funny sometimes, and almost like a game closing card, assuming your opponent doesn't have Black Witch or you get in the right position. So, we'll take a look at this deck here, but basically I do have a rushing deck with Vampire and Giant Growth, and we will see this deck here. And so we have Ice Elemental, Angels, 2 Metamorphs. That's also going to be key in terms of making this deck really fun. 2 Giant Growths, Vampire, of course, Ice Elemental, some really annoying cards in here. And the Metamorph is going to be good just because with the Giant Growth, it's going to allow us to turn around the match a little bit, even if it gets to a point where it looks like the opponent has an advantage, or in case they come out with some really powerful card right off the start, we can Metamorph it and we can create a stronger version of it ourselves. So that is going to be very critical here. Okay, so here we go with the giant vampire rushing deck, and the Jester plus the Angel is just a great way to kind of work this deck, because the Jester is kind of an annoying card, and the Angel with these cards is also pretty interesting. And again, it gives me a backup option in case they bring out a really strong card to start with. I can use the giant, I can Metamorph it, use the Giant Growth, and then put an Angel behind it, and all of a sudden I have a really powerful push as well. And I don't know what happened here in this match actually, but this person just kind of gave up, I guess. So that was interesting. So here we go here with a double Metamorph in the starting hand. I've got the Vampire, and I was trying to think what to do. They play the Shaman. It must be in the lane in front there, and it is. Wasn't much I could do there to save that. And then I kind of walk right into a trap, and it looks quite bad. What happened there? They have 2 Giant Shaman, or 1 Giant Shaman at least. But I managed to put the Giant Growth on my Shaman, and I'm ahead in the damage battle because I was blocking the bottom lane. So I'm just like, okay. But then it didn't end up quite working out. I needed to block the bottom lane. There was what ended up happening, and for some reason I just didn't block. That was unfortunate, but sometimes I make mistakes too, and we're going to get back in here and do better for the next one. Again, starting off with double Metamorph. I really like doing the double Metamorph in this deck. I think it's really fun, especially with Giant Growth, because again, I have a quick counter to whatever my opponent might play, unless it's skeletons. And if they go with like Mana Ritual and try to bring out something heavy right off the start, I can counter pretty easily and then reverse it on them with the Angel. Kind of get my own stack going back the other direction. So that is what we're normally looking at, and right here, again, really good start to this match. The Gust of Wind is problematic just because, well, it's a problem for any rushing deck, really. I have 2 standard bearers, but I'm kind of trying to decide where I want to play things. I do get the Vampire, though, which is a pretty strong combo, but then they do a great counter there with the Ice Elemental to stop my Vampire. The Angel is working on that Ice Elemental, though. She does a little bit of damage, not much, but just enough that she can work down an Ice Elemental over time. And now we finally have this going here. I wanted to use the Giant Growth on the Vampire, but the Jester was in a way better position, so that is where I used it. And despite the fact that they're really blocking the middle lane well, we still have good control here. Great positioning on their side by their castle, and now I decide to try and work this rushing deck right here and swap with the standard bearer, and that was everything I needed to evade their Ice Elemental and get that win. Fantastic. We got a great chest. Once again, you can see me using the Metamorph here to my advantage to just get a really nice early push going. And even with the Phoenix in that middle lane, I'm so close there with especially having the Angel behind my Jester, just making it really hard for them and forcing them to use a gust of wind, which is good. Anytime you can get your opponent to sort of burn some cards they might not otherwise have had to play, that's kind of a good thing. And my goal right here was to try and get the Necromancer down when I made that move, and I was able to do it. So a pretty sweet little move there, but then I end up having to reevaluate despite using the Mana Ritual. I decided to swap lanes and just try and push them as hard as I could. I totally forgot that the Giant Growth was going to go on the Dwarf and not the Ice Elemental. There's many times where I forget that just because the Dwarf doesn't look like it would get the Giant Growths, but it happens to have the most health, so that's why it gets it. And then me metamorphing an Ice Elemental despite all the skeletons that are out there, really funny. And then swapping lanes, but close match somewhat, but yeah, I was able to get it done there. They had the dragon on my castle, but it just didn't matter because I had a really strong stack there and there wasn't too much they could do. So what's in this chest? Just got a couple of chests here to open. Nothing too crazy, but I always like to save the chests to open for videos, just to make sure in case we get something really cool. So victory chest, what's in there? Nothing too crazy. I haven't gotten a legendary drop in quite a while now, so I feel like I'm overdue to pull a legendary, but I don't know. We're just going to keep seeing, and I'm going to keep opening chests and seeing what I can get. I feel like sooner or later I'll get one. Might have a chance here out of the great chests. I do get an epic, and that epic card is Mana Ritual. So, again, starting off with the Metamorph and the Angel, and this was a very difficult match to start with because they got the triplets out there, and that's not really a card I could take advantage of with Metamorph. Not that I had a Metamorph at this point, but I had to stop the triplets, so I went in with the Ice Elemental and was able to get the second one frozen, and then just started working back on them. Oftentimes triplets are very difficult for rushing decks to work with because they're going to cover all three lanes, and that type of spam is a problem for rushing decks because it prevents me from moving around very easily, especially with the standard bearer. This looked really good, but the problem was I had no angel, so both my vampires died. And then I really could have swapped into the lane with the Archer Queen. So then they make a really nice play there with the Reaper to get rid of some of my cards. And I managed to take out the Archer Queen with the Dwarf, which was a pretty baller move, honestly. Because the Archer Queen is like 8 mana, Dwarf is like, what, way less than 8 mana? So, and at this point, Ice Elemental with an Archer Queen behind it, very, very good, and obviously I don't have an Archer Queen in my deck, so I metamorphed that Archer Queen, which was a great example of how useful the Archer Queen is. I mean, the Metamorph is in this type of deck. Okay, so Fan Dancer is a very annoying card in many cases, and here they got a Fan Dancer down, although I guess she's not as bad against my sort of deck as, you know, like a skeleton deck or something else. But that Gust of Wind was pretty devastating to the Vampire. That was a very nice play by them. However, I am able to just go around this. I decide that I'm not going to beat the stack they have there in that bottom lane, or at least not with the way they have it set up. And I decide to just push the other lanes, specifically the middle lane, and try to just take advantage, knowing that I can swap lanes with the standard bearer in order to work around anything they might try and block with. This is also a low-level player, so I have much more health than they do. And again, I was just figuring with the two standard bears, I could just swap lanes twice and get in enough damage to get the win, and that's exactly what happened. They didn't really have enough to block me because they'd already played so much stuff. So, anyways, that is going to do it for this video here. I hope you guys enjoyed the giant vampire. I didn't get that many giant vampire clips, to be honest. but the vampire rushing deck. And anyways, leave a like if you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about this video in the comments and what types of content I should create. Maybe subscribe if you're new to my channel. And thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned for more videos.